It is time to get our penguins, walruses, whoever into this turbo rainbow and figure out whether that will finally let us to finish this game and solve the impossible level, of course. The two might be related, there might be not. So I think to get to the turbo rainbow, we're gonna need a red penguin with a rocket, because I can see a path for the red penguin to stop behind the rainbow. And then we're also gonna need a yellow penguin to actually enter the turbo rainbow. Okay, I can get the yellow penguin out already, right? But then, yes, I need to get the second animal onto exfiltration to get another part. Now, can I get a red penguin with a rocket from here? Yes, I can. Well, I can get one extracted into here. And then how do I get him where I need him to be? So working backwards, of course, I think we need to get above mutual, right? And then we will be able to hop out. If I get this penguin here, we can bounce into this enclosure and then we can jump into mutual, right? Because that's a wall we can hop over and then we can extract him. So from here, he's able to just easily hop around, pick up this hammer and therefore stop, right? He doesn't get launched. And the yellow penguin can go to the turbo rainbow. Yeah, even the icon's different, so are we ready for what's about to happen? The beginning of the end. It truly is a turbo rainbow. And now we're out here. Replication is unlocked. And we can export any animal we want from here, which means yes, this now unlocks every possibility, right? We can bring anyone we want in here and then also import them to the other levels as long as they're a match to animals there, and presumably also solve this level. However, this light is still on, which means yes, we have learned that we can store every single combination of exporting using the turbo rainbow, but we're still missing a piece of information in order to solve Gentwo Rescue, which means somewhere there is a level that will teach us something we're missing in order to get this yellow penguin to his exit. Because yes, I've been thinking about this further. Even with every single animal we can bring out in here, I'm not sure what options we have to help this penguin, right? Because I was thinking, oh, maybe we will throw him some tool. Oh, maybe someone can jump in. But it's not an option. The spring double jump, we can't execute it there. The tool throws, it's too far. The gaps will stop us, right? It's placed so that none of those tricks will work. And so I think potentially what we want to pursue for now is solving some of the levels we haven't solved yet, like the impossible level. Now, I think the solution to the impossible level, and I mean I've been thinking that for a while, is a yellow penguin with a rocket. Because if we just hop over here, replace the yellow penguins with rockets, I am pretty sure it's a one-move solution where they mutually push each other into their exits with their rockets. So that's it. It's a one-move level. It's done. We have solved the impossible level. The impossible became possible. But that doesn't teach us that extra bit of information. We're still missing so many advanced rules and a single teleporter rule. So what else can we pursue? Because there were levels, right? We can see here. We've solved the impossible level 100%, but in our ground rules, which was the very first level selection, we're still missing 3 levels. And then various other levels are missing a bunch, right? Like the deeper we go, the more we're missing. In ground rules, there is a red penguin. So we have already tried the hammer and we've tried the cane, but I think we need at least a rocket to get the level at the top, and then something else to get the levels where we do an export internally. So we can get ourselves a rocket. And then our second penguin, we get ourselves a magnet so that the rocket can be safely towed onto this level and we can import. And all we have to do here is just pop over and we can soar. And here in Soar, we have to get this gray penguin onto the exit where the yellow penguin with a rocket is from the other side. This seems bonkers. Right? I mean, normally what we would expect to be doing with this sort of levels where we have to get a great penguin somewhere, right? If it's with a hammer, we can bonk him. If it's with a magnet, we drag him. If it's with a rocket, we push him, right? The problem is, how do we even get them pushed around all of those corners? So when we're here, we have the options, right? We can go over him, push him down, but that's it. That's a rocket adventure over. If we push him up, he ends up in this corner. I mean, from here we can push him off the map. That doesn't help. We can potentially push him here, but that's also off the map. So what is it that we're trying to achieve? We potentially have to take the second yellow penguin with us in order to help the gray penguin bounce when we get there or something like that. But it's even hard to set it up so that we can bounce over him. What was that? Propelling a moving animal in the opposite direction will stop it. Interesting. Apparently relevant for this level as well, but there are 2 more rules that we don't yet know that are also relevant for this level. So immediately here, we're gonna learn a lot. Well, now we can't go right because he will fall. But we can't move down because he will fall, because the other one will fall. Because I can get him here. But yes, now he will not be pushed with the rocket. But how does that help? Right? What is the importance of this information? It gives us that if we now move with this rocket penguin, he doesn't immediately fall down as we're moving across this area like this, right? We're able to make it to over here with the rocket without the yellow falling out. But what from here? The rocket jumps over? No, he falls in the water. He what? You what? Now? What happened? I am shocked. A collision can happen over a water tile. An animal launched from a water tile will land elsewhere. Okay. Yes, the rules are getting into unpredictable levels. So, if 2 animals go into a gap over water, they collide, they bonk, and one of them gets sent upwards and then follows the rules of launch, right? So land on a block or land behind a wall. What decides who goes on top, right? Because in this case, the gray penguin launched while the yellow penguin just sank. We've learned something. Is this what we need? Because here we have a gap of water. That was our big blocker. And yes, apparently this is all the knowledge we need to solve this. And so what we will do? We will need 2 yellow penguins to move above that water gap, so they will need to be going opposite directions so that they can collide, right? Because the movement has to happen simultaneously. I guess they could not be yellow. I guess they could be different colors. If we had a yellow penguin with a rocket on the pass level, and then he would push someone else. So we would be basically going left with both the penguins. The rocket pushes someone towards the yellow penguin collides with them, and stuff happens. I don't know. No, I think they have to be 2 yellow penguins. Because it will be the penguin that gets launched from the left land that will eventually, that will jump over to the other side, right? They're not gonna bounce off each other. That wasn't the rule. But then, if the penguin on this side gets launched, won't they just fly over to behind the wall? Will they land in an exit? I mean, I guess experimenting it is. So to solve this, I think we need a yellow penguin with a spring. Because that will allow us to move them both in the same direction, but end up moving in the opposite way. But then we also want another penguin with a cane. But there's also extra steps to this, because we need the yellow penguin on an island to be moving from where he currently is in order for the two to be aligned, right? So he needs to break this wall and stand there, so that when they both are here, they can meet over the water, because the amount of movement will be matched, right? So the spring moves here, they bonk, and he lands. And it is the end. Actually, the end. I really don't know what to say. To reach this far, you've undoubtedly played my game for many hours. Yes, I did. I hope it has brought you laughter, satisfaction, and only a few tears. Many, many tears. I have certainly experienced all of this while creating it. Feel free to share your experiences in the Discord server. Well, I'm sharing them here. I hope this is appropriate channels. I would love to hear about them. Until next time, Jagriff. Yes, that was a great experience. I've said this in a comment at some point, being like, I'm typically not one for picking up those sort of sliding puzzle games anymore, because I've played a bunch in the past and I often find that they get repetitive over time. The further you go, the more they kind of tend to be the same, right? While the reason I was interested in this is because of the tools, which I was like, oh, maybe it will make it interesting. And oh my god, did it make it interesting. Basically until the very end, and even past the end, because yes, I finally got the rule I needed to know to finish this, and I've saved so many penguins. Yes, I am the penguin saver. I definitely didn't just chuck them in the water, make them fly off to space or anything like that. I've saved them all, yes. But yes, even with all of this, playing this game for 27 hours and 40 minutes, I still haven't solved all the levels, so there is still a bunch of them remaining, and I still haven't learned all the rules. The game is not yet done. The people who were saying, oh, this never ends, you're not wrong, because even the end is not the end. So while I'm probably not going to 100% the whole game in terms of winning every level there is, I am just curious about those extra rules. And I guess for that is basically just going through and solving more of those levels that are only reachable now and seeing what extra knowledge do they need. So yes, here for ground rules. The other level we couldn't do, actually, well, the other level we couldn't do is under the penguin, but also the other one that we couldn't do because we need the green walrus to be exported. So I think to export the green walrus, we need the red penguin with a magnet. Because it can't be the hammer, because with the hammer, we cannot select this level because we will just blow all the way through. But we can do the magnet, and then we should be able to just drag this walrus out of here. So now he can go over the wall and he can come out here. And with that, we can go past the exit and we can go to Dominoes. Ooh, lots of teleporters. Does this one need new rules? No, it does not. We know everything we need to know. Well, we've got lots of teleporters, and so we've got lots of potentials for infinite loops. We need to eat the fish. And we need to do something to get our blue guy into his exit. Presume it will somehow involve getting this gray penguin out of here. Ah, there we go. Wasn't even all that hard because it just happens. I'm like, I guess we gotta hit that penguin. And we do. And so the last thing is how to get the gray penguin out of here. Obviously, because he has the mask, we can't hammer him. We have to give him something that will then let us remove him. We can give it the swap. Because with the swap with him, right? Give him the swap, hit him again, and we go to Transfinite. Ooh, More teleporter funsies. Now all the teleporters are going to the same spot. I assume that might be similar to the other thing we've done with teleporters, where if two animals teleport to the same slot, then they get launched at the same time. Because if we were to teleport them one by one, then obviously one of them will go there, be teleported, and then if we teleport the second one there, he will launch the other walrus out, but he himself will be stuck. Oh no, because this is going to cause a loop, and is infinite loop of multiple teleporters also eventually, yes, it also eventually resolves with launch. Animals stuck in an infinite loop of infinite loops will be launched into other areas. So that's all the teleporter rules that we wanted to learn. And that should complete this level fully? No. 89%. Like, some of them have 60 of 66 or 40 of 44. This is 89%. Why? Movement's 50% done. That's a single level. How can it be 50% done? Within exactly 3 moves. Oh my god, this never ends. It never ends, right? Because now it's like, well, you won the level, how about you win it special way? If we bring the spring into there, then we can 1, 2, 3, we win it in 3 moves. And then it's 100% complete, okay? And we also have blockers here that needs extra, it needs extra finishing, and assistance needs extra finishing with not moving the red penguin and stuff like that. Okay. As much as I want to go around and learn the extra rules, I assume they're not gonna be learned through completing the levels with the special rules. I assume they're gonna be learned through just completing the levels I couldn't reach before. So I think I'm gonna pass on doing the levels in the special way, because we will never be finished. I think this will be the final episode, unless there is a significant update to the game, or unless suddenly the series explodes in popularity and everyone's out there begging me to 100% it, then I might. But as it stands, I just want to see what I can do to fill in my journal today and say goodbye to the game. Next one that we were in was Inception. And then in Inception we have Mjolnir, which here, to get the extra level, we need the blue to have the spray. And I think that's it. So the interesting part of that is that the blue here starts with the spring, but we just can't get him around to that side. So we're gonna have to figure out what to get red to help him. Now, typically, if we wanna get good mobility, cane is the best option. So let's try red with a cane into that level. And he can come around super easy and then help blue do stuff. Because in theory, blue can jump to the other side. If he loops here, he can bounce here and then bounce the other side. But we need to get that hammer out of the way. Jumps over here, he can bounce back, and he's in. So now all we need to do is put yellow here, infinite loop, and we're in Barrage. Easy peasy. We've learned so much now. I'm like, huh, you call this a challenge? What we got? A fish. Bunch of fish on both sides, so we need to be launching. No one needs to finish anywhere, they just need to eat the fish. Which I assume what's gonna happen, yes. We're gonna cause loops in the teleporters. So I think what we're trying to do is just make a line of the green penguins like this. And then when we send him, he will get them all onto the fishes, and he will get himself a fish. And everyone's fed. You know, remember that distribution level where only one of the walruses ate all the fish? This is actually distribution. There we go. And that's Mjolnir, actually 100% complete. There is no special levels there. We have a 1 level that we haven't completely reached, and then we have 2 levels internally that we gotta reach. So in foreboding, that's another spring jump. So here we also start with a spring, but then the red has a hammer. So I think what will help is purely if we move the red with a cane into there and we get, again, better mobility with the spring, right? Although the storms are gonna be a bit annoying. But yes, he can be sent down there. Although the order may need to change. Actually, we don't need to swap them in order. Because what we can achieve is bounce here towards the penguin. And we should still end up bouncing off the block and bouncing to the other side of Jettison, yes. What are we doing here? We've got 2 greys. One of them has a hammer, and one of them is just a walrus in a teleporter. So we can push this grey to push the walrus, and then he ends up 1 away from his exit, which means someone has to be there to pick up the rocket and propel him backwards, right? So in one single move, all 4 animals will be affected. So what we gotta do is send those 2 greens down those 2 middle rows to set this all in motion. But we can't do it from there because of the storm, right? We have to somehow arrange for them to get there in one of the other columns. So how can we go about that? What can we achieve? And especially like, yes, once we get there, we can no longer move right because that's just, that will set off the whole thing in motion. And then it's done. Actually, he can go to the right because he doesn't have a hammer. And now we can push him up. And now we can do this because they're at the right places. There we go. So that's another extra level, but no new rules have been learned. We just relied on what we already knew. But that makes foreboding 100% complete. Now, how do we get into that middle level? I think back to this thing with the blue penguin, right? Because if he has the spring, he could also potentially jump into there. Just have to get this hammer out of the way. Although yes, where are he gonna bounce for that? I guess if he can get between the red penguin. Yes, if he can get down 1 now, he should be able to do it. Well, I've tried a bunch with the hammer and the spring, but there doesn't seem to be a good way to align it. So if we make them go around through the bottom, we can get some different angles on the spring and the cane maybe? Right, because he can bounce through here. And then he's able to go up top. Then he could get the hammer, right? Because then we have a hammer and a cane. So that may change things slightly. Because then it's easier to align the hammer, right? Because then he can be here, get the gray out of the way. We can then return through, align him here, align him here. No, from the other side. Because then if we go from the bottom, the red can stand here, and we can chuck him, and we're on to impact. We're also not learning anything new here. Okay, we need everyone to finish here, right? We've got the yellow penguin needs to finish, green penguin needs to finish, and walrus needs to be out. Now, the fact that there's 2 yellows and one of them has a spring, I get the feeling that they're gonna bounce off each other, right? So the way we're gonna get this yellow penguin to where he's going is he's gonna collide with the walrus and he's gonna do what we did to finish the game, and the walrus is gonna go in the water as he wants to. So the main thing here is going to be needing to use this green penguin to stop them from falling out where they're not meant to be falling out. Right? Because once they are here, he needs to block that yellow walrus. But the yellow penguin now can't move down because the walrus will go down, right? So too early on being in here. Like, we can use the green to close the gate, but now the walrus will launch himself. We do this, the yellow penguin can be at the bottom. Then we basically have to use reverse movement and blocking. to stop them from going where we don't want them to be going. We can close this gate and then block the yellow penguin to once again move the walrus down. Open the gate, stand in the exit, right? So now, once again, the same as in the end of the game. If we move to the left, they bounce off each other, and success. A successful impact. So this was another level where we could have actually learned to do that instead of doing it at the end of the game, but seems fine enough to do it in the actual end level. Okay, so there is something left in Moonwalk. So here we have to bring the red penguin with something, right? That's our only option, because on the level above this in Inception, only the red penguin is a match. Now, the cane was great for moving around, because we also have to consider, right, how would he get here? So I think the cane actually might be a possibility, but we need to do what we did before and get the blue penguin a mallet so he can push us. If we chuck the grain here, we can save the breakable floor so that he can come like this, and we've got the red going through. And then we can push him out of the storm, and then he goes to Moonwalk with his cane, right? So he, again, gets a lot more mobility so that he can help the green penguin pick up the spring and use it to jump. So he can then align here. We can close the gate so he can bounce back. And he can bounce back again. We lock him in. Hop over. Dribble. We're gonna dribble some penguins. Okay, one of them has to make it up there, which I know where he will be for it, right? Where he will be for it is just below the platform, because then he will bounce up and jump over. At that same point, the other one, who's currently here, he will need to be in the slot above, so when I push up to cause the loop to jump, he will push himself back into this exit, yes? That's definitely the finishing move, but I think there will be steps to go through. Like, we definitely need to jump over to here first and to start getting them aligned, because even for this, like, we can do double bouncing and everything with the springs. Even for this, to get someone at the bottom, we need to get launched, right? So we need to, yes, do this sort of bounce. And then we move up. And yes, one goes to the exit, the other goes to the exit. Lots of bouncy. Again, no new rules learned, but we dribbled. Unfortunately, yes, until I reach those levels, I don't know whether they have new rules or not. But this takes Inception to 100% complete. We've got a bunch of sub-levels in Transition where I think we can achieve things. I have brought in the blue walrus with a bomb, and he can import himself to Lemnis Gate. And here that should allow us to get to that bottom level. If we just blow ourselves up, we can get into Rift. Wow, that is a lot of penguins. A lot of blue penguins. We can see what happens if we get them all into the teleporter. Okay. They bounce one by one, but we're one short of getting into that second exit. So I assume we're gonna have to put that penguin behind the barrier in line with them. And for that, we're gonna use the green penguin to help us get the movement so that the rest of the penguins don't fall out. So we're fine to move like this, and then going down, the green penguin will prevent the other blue from going backwards, right? So we're making advancements while we're holding those other penguins on the board. One more here so we can get them all aligned, and we're ready to take a step into this. Bounce. There we go. Most of them had to get out, but the two at the end have exited. So that's everything in Lemnis Gate done, if we ignore the fact that some levels want to be redone with new rules. To get to the level under the Great Penguin, we're gonna need a green with a swap, because then he can give the Great Penguin a swap, and then he can just swap with him. And we're in priority. Okay, we've got two yellow animals, and they just hop into the teleporters. And we have learned something. Another rule for our journal. If two animals are simultaneously launched to the same tile, the one moving first will land first. Okay. And also animals of the same color are moved in order top to bottom, left, right. I was like, yes. How is it the one moving first lands first? We moved them both at the same time, but the top and left play a role here, which means, yes, here the walrus moves first, he lands first, which means he's locked in there and he can't escape the level. So we need to swap them. We need to make it so that the penguin is at the top, and then they fall differently, the walrus can exit, and we get a rainbow, and we get the extra win condition of win in one move. That's crazy. But that means we can now export a penguin with a bomb in here? A yellow penguin with a bomb in here. What is the need for that? So in path of plane, we need to hop over a wall. And there is a yellow penguin here. If we have a yellow penguin with a bomb, that will be how we can do that. But we may need to restart the level for that. And we can immediately get him out of there because the gray animal can then be swapped. Okay, but we will need more imports. If we import green with a magnet, we will use the green with a magnet to remove those gray penguins out of the way. And then he can calm down and help the yellow get out. We have to get him here first, right? So he can shift him up here, get him to this door. And now when yellow is here, we can get everything aligned so that when he explodes, he will go into the path of plane. Okay, so now that we have a yellow with a bomb, what we should be able to achieve is getting him there, then getting those two penguins stuck, and off we go to NN. And here we got 4 red animals, 2 walruses, 2 penguins, no tools. So something's up here. Ooh. Okay. An animal will be launched after enough rebounds. Okay, so if we have 2 animals of the same color and they're moving together, they don't launch themselves. Not even 3 animals that are the same color will launch themselves. But apparently 4 is where the middle 2 will be squished by the movement of all of them and launched. But in order for this level to be fully won, that means the 2 walruses will need to be shuffled to the middle. Okay, so now we can come down, and now when we move towards the fish, they get squished and eat the fish. Beautiful. So we're learning. Just 3 more rules. So there is more to do in the 2 side levels, flare and liftoff. So I've got the walrus with the spring out, because I think that will be how we can get the level in flare. Because if he walks into the teleporter now that we clear the rocket, he's able to jump out here. The only problem is we have to clear the corner around here going to the top, because we can bounce here and here and here, but then if we bounce, the storm is awaiting us. So there is some more steps. We can get a bomb penguin out here. He can move, but obviously danger. But he could potentially help. If we go back to here, get the bomb penguin out, he can go around the corner. And then if the walrus bounces through here, he will bounce over the storm and he can get in there. But we need to get the green guy out of the way. Okay. The corrected version, we can then bounce off him, go to flare. And that's because if we're in flare with the spring, if we can get the blue walrus into that section that's just for him, he can go up into the locked level. Because he needs to come out, the green needs to back up. But then he will still need help to get to the level. If we get them lined up like this, the blue guy can bounce back, then the green guy can come here, serve as a bounce back, and we can get in here. And then we can hop on into Punctual. So what are we trying to achieve in Punctual? I mean, the title signifies something to do with timing, right? Precise timing, so we're there right on time. we've got a couple teleporters. One will throw this gray out, but we can throw him behind a wall if needed. But the other one throws us onto the fragile tile. But this is one of the levels where we got to learn another rule. So it is what we've been looking for. Because our objective is to get the gray guy to the exit at the top, it feels very much like we will have to do something for him to be able to bounce, right? Because the only way he's getting there is bouncing off someone who's on the broken tile. So it's gonna be like a timing thing where we have to cause someone to teleport at the same time that he's getting launched into there. So it could be through the bomb, it could be through the magnet. And then as the animal teleports before the tile breaks down, we can bounce off him, and then they go through the hole and he still makes it. That's my best guess, right? Because there is no way to just place someone there and stay. We know it's not possible. So I'm just looking at how we can position our animals here. What will we be able to achieve? Because what would even be the move for someone to do this? Either the gray penguin has to be over here where the green is with magnet over him and he gets thrown, but then we're not entering the teleporter at the same time. Or he gets thrown by an explosion. The idea would be to get the gray penguin one tile to the left, right? Get him here. And then we need to ride into him to explode. And then yes, from here, the green will get pulled into the teleporter and he provides the bounce pad. Yes, launched animals can bounce off moving animals. I mean, he wasn't as much moving as he was teleporting and dying, but I guess that counts. So that's Punctual, and that's another lesson for our journal, 2 more. So if we rewind a little bit, we can actually take this spring walrus into liftoff, right? Which means we remove the rocket from the blue walrus, and we can move on to those levels beyond the barrier. So we can move to Halt. So there doesn't appear to be any new rules to learn here. I think what we're going to make a use of here is the thing we learned before, that yes, where if we have 2 animals moving at the same time because they're the same color, the rocket can stop them, which means we need to align them. Basically, if they go to the rocket from the other side that they were at, this should work. So if we do this, they're aligned, and then the one that picks up the rocket will stop the one behind, and Halt is executed. Now for the other level there, I think I just need to come here with no tool, which I think I can do if I just do this and let that penguin steal my spring, and then I can come with no spring. And then we can just align to send him down that path to the level at the end. Counter. Okay. Walrus with a rocket and a red penguin. So what we're gonna be looking at is, again, I think using the rocket propeller to stop so that the walrus can shoot off to get the fish while the red penguin ends up in the exit. So it's just we need to be able to move this way and down. And yes, now the red penguin won't move because of the rocket. That's counter. Okay, we're kind of repeating the same rule for a few of those levels. Now for this last one, beyond the wall. So I think yellow with a bomb will do it. And initially I tried to get the one we already have, but he can't get across with the bomb himself. But there is a possibility to get a yellow walrus with a bomb from here. Right? If we do this, he lands on the bomb and then he comes in here. And we can import that into liftoff. Now that we have a bomb, what we can do is stack up a path to get him there. And then we can ride in, explode, and we're into Intercept. So we're looking to intercept. I think this is similar to the other one where we need to do a bounce over at the broken tile in order for this to work. So if we have the rocket penguin, put them to there. Ah. Okay, I was thinking, oh, the rocket penguin will have to push the gray into that thing, but no, because we had to be moving upwards. But this was enough, right? Because the rocket penguin was the bounce pad instead of the other gray. And that's it. And that was a quick one. I was like, oh, I think that's this. And we're done. No new rules here. So that's lift off fully done, and that's also... No, that's not transition fully done. We still have to do something in walk. What we need to do in walk is get rid of the gray penguin, which means we need to import green with something. Green with a hammer, to be honest, seems like the easiest solution. So if we have green with a hammer, we can push those two grays out, push the red out, push the yellow out. We're on to walk, and now we've got a hammer, and we can actually just go right into blue, right into gray, and get into Octave. I think we're doing that thing again, where someone has to be on the broken tile just as the other penguin will jump, and then we will intercept. But the problem is that, weirdly enough, because to me we're like, oh, we're too far away, right? We should be at the same tile vertically, but it actually seems like the jump is much slower than the move, so we need to be further away. We need to be much further away. Which means we're picking one of those arrows, because we can then slide out and intercept him at just the right point. It's just which one is the right one. Because we could go here. We're too early, I think. We're too early. And we tried this one, so maybe this one? There we go. So yeah, the timing of the jump is quite a few tiles of movement at the same time. But that's everything in walk. So that was kind of using all the same rules across those levels. And yes, now everything is percentage based, which means we've got all the levels. There's extra rules. We've got 2 levels not done in pass. I think one can be easily achieved if we bring a red penguin with a spring into it. So we can just bounce him down. Always nice to have a cane on the second penguin to help out. And yes, if we get a spring, we'll literally just hop down, bounce off into pinch. While we pinch in. So we have 2 restricts and we have 2 buttons. We've learned something immediately. The animal movement priority also applies to simultaneously flying items. Okay, so that's second to last, the penultimate rule that we've learned. Because yes, we immediately flying a bomb and a cane. But I think, once again, we're looking at the fact that the yellow will need to move into the gray in order to explode them both, which means we want the bomb to land on the gray, which means what we're looking to do is swap their places, but without touching the buttons as part of the movement. So we can do this so the cane can go around, and then we have them aligned the other way. Throw that. He rides into him. Walruses out. Pinch complete. Now, the other level, I think we need a rocket. I think we need a rocket. It's just gonna be slightly annoying getting a rocket onto that square. But with a single penguin in the level, I don't see a different tool that could achieve it. We're gonna need to do a multi-step rocket. Because in order to get a rocket on that square, we need to push that rocket with another rocket. So I can pull a green, or it could be another color, but I pull the green with a rocket there, because I think we're gonna need it there to then have a red underneath with a rocket to move them down, but I now have no way to get around to replace the red from there. So now I'm like, is there another place I can do this? Where in a, how to possibly make this more complicated, right? After we imported a cane into Inception, we can then export it from Inception so that we can get a red penguin with a cane from over there so that he can go over here and then replace himself with a rocket. And then he can hop over and do what I wanted to do, which is jump through here, get into position, and then green can push him. And then we're in pass with a rocket. And this is fairly straightforward with a rocket, because we just need to hop over the walls and get into termination. Well, of all of those things, right, we want a rocket. But that did not help. So I assume we need to... What's going on? Oh, we've caused an infinite loop with our tools. I was like, oh, we'll have to like pick them up one by one maybe to use up the tools, but that's our final rule. Looping flying items will be flagged to water, yes. So not only animals, also items. This feels like this is a level specifically set up to trigger an edge case that occurred. Okay, but once that has happened, we can basically go around and make the rocket cycle. What we want to do is dispatch some of the items we do not want here, right? Until we can actually use the rocket. Because obviously it's always the item that started it that's gonna get flung first. But now we no longer cause infinite loops, right? Now we just throw over the walls. But oh, you can get rid of things if they're thrown there. Or we can get this rocket out here, and then we have a straight path to launch ourselves. And it's terminated. Okay, well, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. That's all of the rules found for our journal. And yes, there are still levels I haven't reached. My completion is like 92% now. But I think this is enough. I think we've had lots of fun, I think we've learned lots of things, and I think this is where the regular series of this will end. But I may get tempted. I may get tempted to do some more of it, and at some point there might be a bonus of like, hey, I solved some extra things. I mean, especially if there's interest to see those extras. But yes, this has been plenty of fun for me. I hope as well for you. Really good work from the dev, getting all of those tools packed in there, making all of the interesting rules, and making all the levels, like, none of them were designed to be like an endless slog where you had to do so many moves, right, until it made sense. They were designed that actually once you've realized what the solution was, it usually only took a few moves, right? And some of them were like super tiny, there was barely anywhere to move, and yet so much could be achieved. So really good job, and yeah, so many levels to keep us occupied. So we're gonna say goodbye to the penguins, and we're gonna set off on some other adventures. Probably not any sliding puzzles for now. We're gonna change to something different, but I haven't yet picked it. So we will have to wait and see what it is. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, consider liking or subscribing. As always, thank you to channel members for supporting the channel. And I will see you soon on another adventure.